In recent weeks, discussions about global trade have intensified once again. At the center of this conversation stands the United States, still one of the most influential forces shaping the global economy, and two strong political personalities whose interactions have helped define U.S.-India relations over the past decade, Donald Trump and India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. Today, we explore potential new tariffs, rising trade tensions, and how these developments could shape the future of agriculture, diplomacy, and international commerce. This is the story of strategy, power, and the complicated balance between partnership and competition. The signal that sparked global attention. Reports surfaced that Donald Trump signaled possible new tariffs on certain Indian agricultural imports, specifically rice and related products. Though not yet implemented, the mere suggestion immediately sent ripples through international markets. For global traders, this signaled more than just a policy idea. It hinted at the potential return of a firmer, more protectionist U.S. trade stance, one that prioritizes domestic producers and attempts to reshape trade relationships through negotiation pressure. For India, rice exports represent a strategic economic sector. The possibility of tariffs raises questions about market access, pricing, competitiveness, and the long history of trade negotiations between the two nations. Why agriculture is always at the center. Agriculture has long been a sensitive area in global trade policy. Not only does it feed national populations, it also supports millions of livelihoods. When the U.S. signals tariffs on agricultural imports, two things happen. Global commodity markets react instantly. Prices fluctuate. Exporters recalculate risks. Importers reconsider contracts. Domestic political pressures rise. Farmers, trade groups, and industry associations push for support, clarification, or policy changes. This time is no different. As conversations around tariffs increased, analysts warned of possible supply chain disruptions not only for rice, but potentially for other agricultural categories that could become part of wider negotiations. The U.S. response, a $12 billion aid package. To stabilize the domestic farming sector amid uncertainties and rising costs, the U.S. government announced a $12 billion aid package for American farmers. This was designed to offset higher input prices, support farmers facing reduced export opportunities, and maintain stable domestic food production. Aid packages like this highlight just how central farming remains to American economic identity. Even in a highly diversified economy, agricultural stability is considered a matter of national importance. For many farmers, the support offers relief, but also reminds them of how deeply global trade politics affect their everyday lives. India's calculated reaction. In New Delhi, the response was measured but unmistakably firm. Indian officials emphasized that any tariff targeting agricultural exports would require an equally strategic reply. Rice, especially basmati and specialty varieties, is not just an export product, it's a symbol of India's agricultural strength and a key source of income for millions of farmers. While India has navigated U.S. tariff pressures before, this moment feels different. Why? Because India is now a far bigger global economic player than it was a decade ago. Its export reach has expanded, its domestic market has grown dramatically, and its geopolitical leverage has strengthened. If tariffs are imposed, India may consider diversifying export markets further toward the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Renegotiating trade terms in sectors where the U.S. depends on Indian supply chains, such as pharmaceuticals and IT services. Or, in a more assertive scenario, responding with reciprocal tariffs on select U.S. products. This is where diplomacy becomes a chessboard, each move strategic, each message carefully crafted. Trump and Modi, a relationship that shapes outcomes. At the center of these developments are two towering political figures, Donald Trump and Narendra Modi. Though their leadership styles are very different, both share one important trait. They understand the political value of strong economic messaging. During Trump's previous tenure, the U.S.-India relationship oscillated between warm public friendship and hard-nosed trade disputes. Modi, on the other hand, has consistently positioned India as a rising global power, one that cannot afford to appear weak in negotiations. The chemistry between the two leaders matters because their personal rapport influences diplomatic tone. Their domestic political bases expect decisive action. Their decisions ripple across global financial markets. If tariff discussions intensify again, their interactions could set the direction toward cooperation, confrontation, or a carefully. What rising tensions could mean for global agriculture. A tariff dispute between two major economies never stays contained. Global rice markets, already sensitive due to weather fluctuations and supply chain costs, could face price surges in consumer markets, volatility for exporters in Asia and Africa, shifts in trade flows as buyers look for cheaper alternatives. Meanwhile, countries dependent on rice imports, especially in Africa and the Middle East, may feel the ripple effects more sharply. Agriculture is not just about crops. It's about people, livelihoods, food security, and geopolitical leverage. And when the US and India are involved, every shift triggers international consequences. The bigger picture, a world redefining trade. This moment is part of a larger global trend. Countries everywhere are rethinking dependence, supply chains, and trade strategy. From Europe to Asia, governments are asking the same questions. How do we protect domestic producers? How do we ensure food security? How do we stay competitive in an unpredictable world? The U.S.-India dynamic is a microcosm of this global shift. Trade is no longer just an economic issue, it's a strategic one. Every tariff, every negotiation, every diplomatic statement is a piece of a larger puzzle. What comes next? Nothing is certain yet. Tariffs have been signaled but not finalized. Diplomatic conversations are ongoing. Analysts are watching every development closely. The next few weeks and months will determine whether the US pushes forward with a more protectionist stance, India negotiates new terms or leverages alternative markets, or both sides find common ground to avoid escalation. What is clear is this: the world is entering a new phase of economic strategy, one shaped by national interests, political personalities, and the delicate balance of global power. And the story of U.S.-India trade, especially in agriculture, will remain at the center.